PHLY, I see you already saying you're live, you're not live. But guess what? We are live right now, right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Good to see you here at 3 o'clock again for those just tuning in and saying, why are they just starting and not getting things going at 2:30? If you're behind from a few days ago, we shared that we will be starting now going forward at 3 p.m. here on the show. So PHLY, we are live and we are glad to be here. As yesterday we spoke a bunch about Paul George in his introductory press conference. We kept teasing the fact that we would discuss Tyrese Maxey and his earlier press conference after signing his extension. Well-deserved, by the way, for the first-time All-Star. And a player that we look at, and Joel Embiid, for that matter, talks about him as the franchise. And we wanted to speak and give him more time that we know he was deserving of.
He deserved more than 8 minutes, as we said yesterday.
The 8 minutes towards the end of the show, just because of the Superchats, the great generosity from everybody, Jess and a few others, Sean in there, sending some Superchats late that had us going through. And we wanted to make sure, again, that we talked about Tyrese Maxey today because he is more than deserving of course, featuring him here on the show. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey at length about everything that he spoke about yesterday. And he spoke for a while, too. We talked about Paul George having a long press conference. So did Tyrese Maxey. He's always very candid. It was good to see him. And a lot of people were talking about how big he looks. He looks swole, like AI talks about his shoulders.
Yeah,
look like a football player.
Wow, he looks like wide.
Yeah. And I'm like, damn, did he look that way when we were there? I wasn't really paying attention, I guess, and it didn't look – I was like, is this Photoshop that these photos are coming through? But anyway, he looks good. He's happy. His family was there. It was great. I talked to some people about the Maxey Museum. That was pretty cool, too. We'll get into Joel Embiid with Team USA as they get ready for group play as the Olympics will officially get underway, I believe, next week or this weekend when the group play actually starts.
Their first game, I believe, is Sunday.
Sunday. Okay, so Sunday for that. And then if you heard me talking to Derek and Kyle about this on our earlier show during the week, I think it was Monday, I mentioned Gilbert Arenas and how much he was an idiot. Kyle had a chance to actually look at it. We'll get Kyle's thoughts a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that. But Tyrese Maxey yesterday, if you look at what our thumbnail is on our show, a photo of Maxey sitting on the bench with the basketball, and it said the franchise. We say it kind of jokingly because we know who Joel Embiid is, and he is the franchise. He's a top 5 player in the league. He's an MVP candidate year after year. But at some point, he's going to start to go away, fade away a little bit in terms of his game, and hand the reins off to possibly Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid has already talked about him being that guy, how much he wants him to take over, take these shots, do all these things. Maxey has spoke about it quite often, where Joel Embiid is the one that really gives him, when we go back to the video of the Maxey Museum, and he is speaking about how Joel was the one that really, really pushes him to take all these shots. Don't worry about getting me the basketball. Stay in that rhythm. If you have it going on, keep it going. Have at it. Get those shots so we can get this W, especially when he's a little fatigued, maybe feeling a little bit out of shape. Somebody else has to do it, and he's the one that he trusts to do so. He is in a new spot with this new contract, and even with that new contract, Kyle, and everything that comes with signing a max extension like that, over $200 million, he is one player that you look back at and from when he first started to where he is right now and say, this is not going to affect him negatively in any way. Of course, the pressure is always going to be there because you are a guy that defenses are going to be prepared for. They're going to have everything on the whiteboard trying to slow you down along with Paul George and Joel Embiid. But for the person, the personality, how he approaches things, the hard work that he always commits to, always speaking about the 1% better, even hearing him yesterday, nothing has changed. He's still the same kid that you saw a couple of years ago. And it seems like for him, at least how he speaks, that he's still ready for the moment.
Yeah, and he was asked a lot of questions about, maybe not a lot of questions is not right. He was asked at least a few questions on, you know, how will you continue to motivate yourself? You know, like what comes next? All these forward-looking questions where they're fair questions, right? When you get that first big deal, everybody responds differently. Tyrese literally was like, dude, I have an arm of bracelets where it's like this one says 1%, that reminder to get 1% better every day. This one says LND, stands for leave no doubt. He's got one in tribute to his grandmother who passed away. And he's he just has all these reminders that he carries with him every day, set aside whether he's in the gym or not, to remind him of like who he is and what his goals are and what he wants to accomplish. And so I think that is a good starting place, right? To just remind yourself of like, this is how I got here. This is the work that I put in. This is the work I need to continue to put in to go from, 21st pick to max guy, and then max guy to, I'm not just an all-star, I'm potentially all NBA. I'm potentially, getting some of those top individual honors of the league. I thought that, one of the great things about yesterday was getting to hear Tyrese kind of reflect on those first few years, that first 4 years that he played here. And he told a story about, and he's told variations of this before, but I don't know that he's ever gotten this specific, where he brought up that game against Denver his rookie year, where they were down to like 7 guys effectively because of COVID and guys being ruled out and injuries. And he said, I don't think I remember hearing this before, that Joel passed him in the locker room or in the tunnel and was like, I need you to go out there and get me 40 tonight. And Tyrese said he was like, 40? I've been averaging like 12.
He said, I can barely get to 12.
I can barely get there. And it was a really fun. And then Tyrese obviously goes out and he has his best ever game up to that point, sort of announces himself to the Philadelphia faithful.
Yes.
And I think that was the start, or it's part of the start of Joel believing in this kid. Because look, you make that comment to a rookie, I'm sure Joel would have been thrilled if he got like 25 or if he got to 30. But Tyrese has this monster game, and all of a sudden Tyrese can go to him and be like, I got you, big fella, right? Like he's been that kind of guy. Like if you set a challenge for him, maybe he doesn't get there right away, or maybe he falls a little bit short of it, but he's going to put forth maximum effort, maximum time to put himself in the best position to do so. And I think that was what we were all kind of reminded of yesterday. Like a lot of new stuff we heard yesterday, but you get that reminder of like who Tyrese is as a person. He is not someone that looks at the max deal as like, oh, that's the final step, right? Like I did my work and now I can coast for a little bit. Like, no, this is a kid who wants to continually raise the bar. He sees the Sixers bring in a third star because of the sacrifice that he made. And he says, all right, it's time to win. Like we have a team. I thought that my favorite thing that he said, and I asked him about this directly, asking him about improvements he wants to make, or like, what's the focus of this summer for him? And he said, look, our roster now is set up where we can switch a bunch of guys. Like a lot of these wings are coming in. You're going to be able to switch Paul and Caleb and all these other guys. And he said, I'm trying to get stronger, to your point about the, bulking up and looking bigger. I'm trying to get stronger so that I can be one of those guys. Like I don't want to be left behind as the rest of the roster becomes better in that way. And so he's trying to take a weakness that, he knows he has and turn that into, if it's not a strength, he's at least at that passable playoff level switch defender. And so I just love the mentality that he shows day in, day out, on the floor, away from the floor, just like a really special kid on top of being a great player. And I think that those two things are intertwined, right? Like you talk to his family, you see his family and the dynamic that they have, sort of what he's been passed on by his parents and the people around him. It makes total sense to me that he's gotten to this moment and that he's set up for even more success in the years to come.
And as you lay all of that out, especially about the family part, the one thing that you always see, if you're at the game or whether you're watching the game, you may see his parents sitting at the scorer's table in their usual seats, and they have a good view. There's always 2 other people there as well, and it's normally his best friends, his 2 best friends. One of them made a joke about saying that, of course, he wants all his people here while they're doing this press conference for this big thing that he got, this big new contract, and all the people that he cares about. And his one best friend is like, what? We're going back to Philly for this press conference? No, I'm cool. I'll stay back here and I'll see you when you get back, because they've seen all of this. But the point was that one of his best friends was right in front of him. The other one was still out west getting some workout in, playing some ball and all. And it was because these are the people that he cares about. He still surrounds himself with the same people that were there from the very beginning to where he is right now. Sure, he has some more people in his life now because they have to handle a lot more, especially when it comes to the off the floor things. But seeing the workout,
yeah, because we're talking about, he's got more endorsement deals,
the
more
local
obligations
ones.
away from
Right.
basketball at this point.
And he's such a great guy that a lot of times he can't say no. So you need to have somebody that's always going to be there for you. And he was asked about seeing on the jerseys and signing autographs. He says, I may not be able to sign those same autographs anymore, but I at least try to wave. And that's who he is. That's his true self. From getting to know him just a little bit, from being around him. I remember just telling the story, and Kyle's been around him also. And Bree and I were discussing before the show about the photo to put up. And I was like, I think I took one from yesterday that we may be able to use for that. I didn't. I took more Paul George stuff than I did Tyrese because we always see Tyrese. But I was going back, and I remember being at an event with him, he and Danny Green and a couple of the Eagles, and we were all there and we were talking. And you'll never see us on here with like Sixers gear because we have to do our jobs. But sometimes in certain situations where you're around certain people, there are things that you have to do. So I'm in this group photo with a lot of these athletes. And first of all, I'm like, I don't belong in that, right? So the people were telling me like, no, you belong in there, you get in there. Okay. And then they wanted, I think it was my daughter because I had my youngest with me. You met my daughter, you know my daughter. So she's like, Dad, just take it. I'm like, nah, it's cool. Tyrese is Tyrese, but it's cool. And then he was like, no, let's just take it. So we took it, right? And I keep that type of stuff more for my kids and my family and not make that a public thing. But I say that because I look at that from 2 years ago, and he's the same dude that he was 2 years ago at this event, trying to sign every autograph that he could and take every picture that he possibly could. And he's still that same way. So thinking about that brought it back. And then in the very beginning, when he was talking about, I had forgot about this, when he was drafted, I knew, of course, how he was drafted, all of that stuff. He did not have a big-time press conference in front of people because of COVID. I forgot that he had COVID and he missed the first couple of days of training camp. I totally forgot about that. And then for him to come in, have that game against the Denver Nuggets.
In the weirdest way, COVID is probably the only reason that he's on the Sixers in the first place, because if he had gotten to play in the NCAA tournament,
he would have lit that tournament
I have no
up.
doubt in my mind he would have played himself higher than 21 in the draft.
And I even think back to when we talk about Preston Sachua still being a free agent right now, still being available. As much as 1 through 19 did not take Tyrese Maxey, that Miami Heat selection at number 20, you look at it and you're like,
Heat guy
he's sitting right there, and they did not take him. And it's more of a looking at and wanting to watch him going forward. Thank you, Miami, for not going in that direction at pick number 20. Because Maxey
if he went there too, he's the ultimate Heat culture.
Yes.
Like, I'd have to hear for the next 10 to 15 years, like, Miami did it again. Pat Riley, the super genius.
But no, it's just that that's who he is. So it just would have fit into their culture, would have extended them for another decade of them being able to say the Heat culture because of how cool he is, how much of a good guy he is. But when we jokingly talk about him as the franchise, at pick 21, for him to turn himself into where he is right now, he even spoke about it yesterday. It's through hard work, the belief that he could do it. And
by the way, it's only kind of joking, right? Like Joel joking.
That's where I was going.
Joel says it, right?
Joking,
and he's like, he does it because everyone puts the expectations on him.
It's a real thing that he's that good.
He's that good.
That when Embiid starts to tail off, that when it does eventually get there, you can easily pass the torch to him because not only does he have it with the game, but he has it with the personality. He has it with the mindset overall that he does have that belief that he can do that. And then just go back and look at that Game 5 against the New York Knicks where he did have to do what he did by going nuclear and blacking out and going off in that game to hit that almost half-court shot to tie the game and do everything that he did with that 44-point performance in that one to push them and force New York to a Game 6. That's just who he is. I remember jokingly in the past, I think it was year 2 in the postseason against the Raptors. He had like 30 in the opening game. I think they lost it, but he had a really good game. And I'm like, I remember tweeting out, you guys know I don't tweet out a lot, but I retweeted out, this guy's going to be a star. Didn't mean he was going to be a star in the postseason or the very next season, that he was going to get there. He's there. And that's why we can now elevate and talk more about the franchise piece of it, because he's that good, where you look at him and you just say that he has everything that a franchise wants as the face of their organization, that they can put out there and know that, there's not a lot of bad press that comes with it. The hard work is going to be there. He's not going to say no to a lot of things. He's going to do everything possible to make sure that they are winning and that things look good for them overall. And that guy's good. He still has his flaws. The defensive part he has to get better at. The assists, and being a playmaker in general for the rest of his teammates. That's something that he has to do. But this team, this organization, even when he has bad games, we get on him. People are like, all right, it's cool. Get to the next game 2 because he's going to be fine, because he's going to put in that work. Yesterday, he had the press conference. Probably heard the same thing. He was there at 8 o'clock yesterday. He was already working out when a lot of people were in the building doing what they're doing, because Tyrese Maxey just does that. He was there yesterday morning getting his workout in like he typically does.
I'm shocked.
And Kyle's shocked. You can see it on his face right now, the shock face from Kyle Neubeck. Because
they literally had to, Doc Rivers, when he was the coach, they had to basically ban him they had to make certain days where it's like, you specifically, Tyrese Maxey, are not allowed to be here because we don't want you to hurt yourself from overuse.
Yep. And that's him, man. And that's why no matter what you say about Embiid and all of that, this guy in particular, though, he is the one that a lot of people lean on and feel good about. Even sitting there with Josh Harris and Daryl Morey, you can see everybody else in the front row having his family there. That guy. We have a lot, though, from yesterday that we still have to get to, because the guy said a lot. So we'll do that when we get back, talking more about Tyrese Maxey and what he means to this franchise going forward. Also, what he looks like. Hell, we're going to talk about Team USA in just a little bit. He's carrying that one too, that he wasn't even at least on the pool team of, hey, the select team, get everybody ready. Tyrese Maxey not on there.
Speaking of the Heat, Tyler Hero on the select team.
We got to talk
him.
about
Come
that.
on,
Tyler
man.
Hero, no
Come
thank
on,
you.
man.
No thank you. Remember when they were saying Tyler Hero was better than Tyrese Maxey? That's not being said as much anymore. We'll talk about it more next on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And as you get ready for, the weekend upcoming, and maybe you have a couple of days off, you're getting ready to, I need to go gamble a little bit. We saw a lot of people gambling in Las Vegas. Well, guess what? You're home. You can also gamble
like me.
here. Like him. Like Kyle. And look, now that we're home, I can say, Kyle, just go to our partner. Go to Bet Parks. Bet Parks has your seat at the table with the live dealer for all your favorite classic casino games right on your phone and right now. So he doesn't even have to take the trek if he doesn't want to, because it's raining outside. Just go to the phone right on your app. Play Baccarat, live roulette, live blackjack, which I know Kyle likes, with the live dealer, plus play hundreds of exciting online slots as well. Proud to exclusively recommend Bet Parks. It's the only online casino and sports betting app that I do use myself. Very rarely, like Marshall Lynn said, like he cooks his steak. Rare. Same for me, but I will do that on my Bet Parks app. Summer is here, so if you're at the beach, on the boat, the boardwalk, the Poconos, the campground, the lake, or your backyard pool, and you just want, your downtime, fun time. Plus, well, go to Bet Parks, a proud official betting operator of the PGA Tour. I can't help you with the PGA Tour, but if you're a golfer, you already know. New users, download the Bet Parks online casino and sportsbook app right now and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Don't get down. Just keep going up. Casino bonus must be wagered. BetParks.com for details. You must be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Ohio, or Michigan. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. You love to play. You love to win. You bet. Bet Parks.
And guys, I unfortunately forgot to bring the second phone in here today, but I do have.
That's because it's the off season.
My Mint mobile phone here along with me. After years of getting ripped off by overpriced wireless providers, you realize there's always a catch when you hear about some kind of cell phone deal. Oh, yeah, I'll switch. And then you get to the fine print. It's all nonsense. So when I heard for a limited time, all Mint mobile wireless plans are $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, needless to say, I was skeptical. But guess what? There is no catch. Mint Mobile secret sauce is they sell wireless service online. They don't have retail stores or salespeople. Instead, they deliver premium phone plans directly to you. And I know what you're thinking. The other part with switching wireless plans is like, can I bring my contacts? How easy is it to set up? Like, how much will this disrupt my life for some savings, because that's the analysis we all do. It was so easy to move everything over, all my contacts through the cloud, doing all that stuff. I moved my number.
Mm-hmm.
All their plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Maybe you'll even get to meet Ryan Reynolds as an extra perk one day. I can't promise that.
Look at that.
But they will give you the great plan, all the things that you had at your old, worse wireless provider, at a better wireless provider at a better price. So to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Sixers. That's mintmobile.com/Sixers. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Sixers. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Kyle Neubeck, Devon Givens here with you. Brianna is here as always, producing all of you on the chat, getting it in there. I saw Jess had a super chat in there. She was talking about Tyrese Maxey, and she said here, Kyle, we all love Tyrese Maxey around here. It's universal. It's not even just here. Thank you, Jess. Of course, we appreciate that. He was speaking about not only just seeing the jerseys here and in his home state of Texas, and specifically Dallas when he goes back to his hometown, but also just going in different arenas. Wasn't his somewhere in that top listing of jersey sales last season? Because that's how popular Tyrese Maxey is.
And so let me circle back to a point that was, or a conversation we had in the Discord yesterday. I was talking with some people about, and by the way, to get access to our wonderful Discord, become a diehard member at allphly.com. You get access to some exclusive content, discounts on events, all kinds of different stuff, but access to the Discord where I try quite a bit. Devon, who's Mr. Antisocial.
Like Martian Lynch said, rare.
Not on there as much. So when you see Devon in the Discord, it's like seeing a comet streaking across the sky. So we were having a conversation in the Discord about Iverson's popularity historically and Maxey's popularity right now. And I'm not sure that Tyrese can ever get to the Iverson level, because I think what Iverson has that Maxey never will is the crossover appeal, where even people who are not really interested in basketball look to Allen Iverson for like the style stuff. He was doing commercials with Jadakiss and the Locks, and so he's crossing over into music. And he has said it many times, like he took a beating for being authentic to himself and where he came from and the people around him. And that was tough for him at the time, but it created such a large circle of people who love him that it goes so far beyond Philadelphia. And so I'm skeptical that Tyrese gets there. But on the other side of that, Tyrese is such a positive kid, is such a hard worker, has such a frankly fun game to watch, right? Like the step back threes, the speed and transition. He's adding new things every year. On top of that, like Iverson was a bit prickly at times, right? Like he had I don't want to call them negative press conferences, but he had some things that rubbed people the wrong way. Certainly the practice thing was taken different ways by different audiences. Tyrese doesn't have any of that stuff. Like he's just all, for lack of a better word, wholesome, right? Like again, the family angle. I think another thing that I've noticed a lot more over the last year, he's so polite in a way that I thought was kind of a put on at first, that you just realize like, no, this is just how he was raised and who he is. He always refers to them as Coach Rico, Coach Nick, Coach whoever. It's never like, oh, I was talking to Nick, I was talking to this one. He even though he's now $200 million man, made an all-star team and has a level of cachet in the organization, he still treats those people as authority figures. He refers to Kate Scott, Sixers broadcaster, as Miss Kate or Lauren Rosen at Sixers.com, Miss Lauren. He's very respectful and polite to just about everybody that he comes into contact with. And so on top of being a great player, that has allowed him to just be this beloved figure. And so we'll see what the next 5, 10, whatever years look like for him here, or hopefully not elsewhere, but potentially elsewhere, depending on how the future goes. It's just like he could get to that level of just absolutely beloved here. But I think fans who watch the Sixers and don't like Joel, for example, which we're going to get to those people at some point, love Maxey for the game and the personality. So he has cast a pretty wide net, and he deserves it, man. Like I said to his dad, I talked to his dad for a little bit yesterday, and I did the whole, like obviously we have to be impartial. I don't root for these guys, so to speak, but I'm happy for your son, because I just like, in this business, you and I know Derek can speak for all of us, you want to see good people, hard workers, the right things get rewarded, right? You want to see those guys that have reputation for being in the gym, for being just kind to people, for understanding the privilege that they have to play in the NBA and make this money. And he embodies that as a person and as a player. And so it's great being able to have those conversations with people like his dad, to be like, excuse me, you guys really nailed it. Like, you and Denise did an amazing job instilling the right things in this kid. So it's no surprise to me that he is as loved as he is in Philadelphia and beyond.
Yeah, and I don't think we can say too much about it to really explain what it is like to be around that guy. You all see it, so you get to experience it also in a different way. But for him, I mean, it just seems like it's really, really genuine. And to be out there and do the stuff that he did, like the Iverson piece, that's really, really hard to reach. That's difficult. But when they did the Maxey Museum, of course, thanking him for what he did for them, from not taking the extension last summer, doing so this summer so they can go out there and acquire Paul George and some of the other moves that they made. He even brought it up yesterday about how the team is so built, to what Kyle was pointing out earlier, where Kelly Oubre showed his defensive chops last season. Caleb Martin comes in as that glue guy that is mostly known for his defense and all that switchability. They're going to be hunting him down in that starting lineup as the weak link. So pride-wise, yeah, you want to make sure that you are the one that is not that weak link in there, and he's going to do everything that he can to get better at that role. But when by the time his career is over, if he does finish up or spend 10 years here in the Sixers uniform, you better believe that they're going to be talking about him in conversations. May not be, of course, top 10 overall, because there's so many Sixers players that he's going to have to surpass to get into that conversation. But it's going to be hard to leave him off of some of the discussions where people really favor him over others because of the on-the-court stuff, and then you cannot ignore the off-the-court things that goes with it as well. And if they win a championship, hell, we were discussing the new arena possibilities, whether it was Camden or Center City or Delaware Avenue, wherever it might be, Penn's Landing. Everything discussed about it is, guess whose face is going to be on the face of that building when things come around? Joel's going to be pretty much gone. It's going to be Tyrese Maxey. And that's how big he is. That's how important he is for this franchise going forward. I mean, my mom likes basketball, but she's like, no, I love that guy. You know, so many women that you just know, and they're saying, no, I love that guy. You know, I have one friend who's like, that's my son, because they just love the kid, and that's who he is. And that guy is something else, and he is pretty special. So I remember telling the story when he first got drafted, and how I spoke to him when he first got drafted. He came on the show and we discussed some things, but I hadn't seen him because it was COVID. So you couldn't talk to him. You'd only see him on Zoom. See him the next summer, and we're talking about it. And he's like, no, I remember. I'm like, no, you don't. There's no way. No way. That was 8 months ago. How do you remember that? But to your point, you're like, he's thinking about it later. I say to myself, he probably did remember. Or even if he didn't, he's so polite that he wants to make you feel welcomed, as if he really did remember that. And his mom, you talked to his dad, I talked to his mom that day, and they are the nicest people also. So you know exactly,
you see exactly where it came from.
Yeah, you know exactly where it came from. when it comes to them. Anything else from him, though, that stands out yesterday?
So the big thing, and it was part of why the show is headlined the way it is today. The big thing for me was hearing him talk about, what does it look like for you to be a leader of this team moving forward, and what's the next step for you? And he spent a long time essentially saying, like, I have to bring people along with me. I have to, that work ethic that's part of his makeup and his character. Rico Hines and Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid, they've impressed upon him, like, pass that on to other people. Like these young guys, he brought up Ricky Council IV specifically, that he's called Ricky multiple times during this summer. Like, hey, come out to Dallas. Hey, come out to LA, get some workouts in with me. And just like, one, get the workouts in, but two, also see what I'm doing. See the work that I put in every single day to get at the level that I'm at. And Tyrese said, for me, as I was coming up, to get some of these workouts in with Joel, to get some of these workouts in with James Harden when he was here, to get the invite, like, yo, come down to Houston, work out with me, work on your ball handling, work on your step back, and go through the details of that with James and his trainer and the people around him, that kind of burned in Tyrese's brain. This is what it takes, right? Like, whatever people think about James Harden, he's been a highly skilled, highly decorated player for a long, long time. Like, all the, let's call them the extracurriculars he does, those have masked at times that he has put in a ton of work to become, as good as he was as a step back guy, to become one of the best playmakers in the league on a consistent basis, right? Like, came in immediately, is playmaking for Joel. It was basically a shooting guard coming out of college, but then became a full-time point guard at times, guy who ran the entire offense. So Tyrese being with a guy like that in the offseason, now he understands what that takes. And now he's so confident in himself and where he's at, he can go to the Ricky Councils. He can go to the Jared McCains, even like KJ Martins, like those guys, and just say, come here and work on your game with me. Like, just get in the gym, be in the gym, and work on something new for your game. Have these 2-a-days, 3-a-days, frankly, with him a lot of the time, and see what you can, where your limit is, like where you can get to in June, July, August, and early September, so that when preseason hits, when training camp hits, when the regular season starts, you're ready. Like, you don't have to, there is no warm-up period. There is no ramp up. It's just, I'm good to go. And I've added 1, 2, 3 things to my game. And he also said, which was important, I think Joel recognizes, like, not only is Tyrese this worker, guys are drawn to him in a way, right? Because he is so happy and charismatic and friendly to everybody, that he's someone that people want to follow. And so Joel has said, dude, use your voice. This is your team as much as it is mine, right? Like, I think we've seen that on the floor too, that Joel treats him as an equal partner and vice versa. And so Joel has tried over this last year and a half, 2 years to say, I want to hear your voice, because everybody on this team, everybody in this organization needs to hear your voice for us to go from where we're at, which is first and second round losses, to conference finals. You need to, along with me, seize the reins of this team and take people along with you. And I think we've seen that. You mentioned that game 5 in New York where he had the monster performance. I've mentioned it on this show. There were people sitting close to the Sixers bench, closer than I was for that game, because MSG is, a nightmare in so many ways. But
I'll be there soon, MSG.
I love it, and I hate it. It's a complicated relationship. But people who were close to the bench were like, when the chips are down, and some of these veteran guys were not like head in their hands crying or anything, but look like they're a little bit like, is the season over? It's Tyrese who's in there walking up and down, barking at people like, this game's not over. We still got, whether it's 2 minutes left, it's a 6-point game, whatever it is. Tyrese has been that guy increasingly over the last year who has figured out, I have to verbalize this to people, because it's one thing to have, he's got all the internal confidence you need to be a star. But if you can pass that on to other guys, that's how you get to a playoff series and a role player hits 5 threes in a row, or a guy comes out of nowhere off the bench to star in their role, because they know, looking at Joel and Tyrese, those guys will empower them and push them to be the best guys they can be.
So the Ricky Council thing was interesting to me, that he reached out. You could see with Ricky Council, just our little interactions with him, having him on the show last season as well, that he's a fun dude to be around and all that. So you can understand why his teammates like him as well, especially how he and Turk Smith would really be into the game. As far as the cheerleader side of the things, they knew they weren't playing, but they were always there rooting for them on the bench anytime anything good happened. So you can see where Tyrese is like, yo, come work with me, because number one, you're going to be a part of this team. We don't know what your role is yet, but that's up to you to also push through whatever blockage is there to get to that role, to force Coach Nick Nurse to put you on the floor, to be a contributor, a regular contributor, not just a spotty contributor when the game is a blowout, whether it's the winning side or the losing side. So with Ricky, he would only be smart to do something like that. I hope he takes Tyrese Maxey up on that. He'd go to the Ricky Hines runs in UCLA once everything slows down and they're back in Los Angeles. Working out, if they go and he's with Drew Hanlon for, the time. He's with Chris Johnson for a time when Tyrese is out there, just because he's getting some more familiarity with Tyrese Maxey. And when it happened with James Harden, when it happened with Tyrese Maxey going to visit Joel Embiid with Drew Hanlon so they can work on some of the other things. And we saw the results
of that on the floor
last year. The pocket passing that James Harden left and took to Los Angeles, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid picked up right where they left off because of the hard work. And he has to do that. And one of the other things that I thought was interesting that he pointed out, things that we've talked about, and you talked about his father earlier, where his dad would always talk about him and his mid-range game. He can get to the basket. We know about the step-back threes now, how pretty they look and how great they are when they fall, when he creates that space behind the three-point line to get that shot off. But that mid-range game, when you are a star and you are a three-level scorer like that, because everyone knows what you can do, they're trying to decide, and they're really deciding in their brain, how am I going to do this? I cannot be embarrassed by, number one, with the step back, and his speed is so dynamic. I have to be prepared and on my heels to make sure that I cut off that driving lane, whether it's left or right, because he's so fast. Well, then there comes in that step back right there for that pull-up at 15 to 17 to give him an easier shot. And then also just take what the defense is giving you. Take some pressure off of your body in general, because there's no need to take another hit. You take that little mid-range jump shot, and because you are so good, that and the analytics, they work together. It's when you are a bad player, a bad shooter, when the analytics don't necessarily agree. And in this case, the mid-range jump shot for him at 6'2", out there on the floor, it works out well for him, because you're going to need to preserve your body also for what Kyle was talking about a little bit earlier, and that is the defensive end of the floor. So if you already have it going, using your speed to get to the basket, using that special step back and knocking down that three, sometimes that mid-range pull-up is a blessing in disguise because of some other things on the defensive end where you are going to need that energy. That guy never gets tired. But guess what? If you keep doing that and they're running with you and banging you on the floor, knocking you to the floor because they're tired of you scoring on them at the basket, if you do that pull-up jump shot, it will help out in a lot of different ways on the offensive end and maybe even on the defensive end when it comes to Tyrese Maxey. He's a dynamic player, face of the franchise with Joel Embiid, now Paul George. And the other piece before we take a quick break is this. When they were discussing everything that they were with Paul George yesterday, he continually brought up Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. That's because that's where the level of player he is and importance that he has in this organization, in this franchise right now and going forward. Paul George he could not talk about Tyrese Maxey yesterday. He had to, because he's so important to this franchise and why he also made the decision to come to Philadelphia for, as he says, probably the back end and final end of his career and trying to win a championship, and to do so and teaming up with those two. So we'll talk more about the other guy because he's playing for Team USA. Get into him
and then
the
other guy.
And then the other guy. So Joel and Team USA with the day off, they can get about 10 minutes. And then the other guy is probably going to get about a good 5 minutes of a rant from Kyle Neubeck. We'll talk about that right here, plus the Super Chat here on PHLY Sixers Podcast. Go get me a basketball. I think I have some Tyrese Maxey speed, man. Why? Because I'm back About to get on the floor, Al. Winona, going on the floor. Got my hat right here. Let me move in a little bit closer so you can see my hat, my Rothman Institute hat, because I love the place as they got me back to being back to normal, back on the floor with 200 plus fellowship trained physicians subspecializing in specific areas of the body from me and a multitude of other orthopedic services, including knee and ankle. Maybe it's the hip, the shoulder, the spine, the elbow for you, hand, wrist, sports medicine, physical medicine and rehabilitation, orthopedic oncology, and trauma and fracture care. They were the place for me when my injuries occurred. It did not take a lot of pulling on the other healthy leg and other arm, saying, hey, come over to Rothman. I had good recommendations from a couple of friends, and I said, you know what? Done deal. I'm going to Rothman to get the surgery, and I was not disappointed, both for my ACL and my Achilles. Rothman proudly served dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers as well. You know you don't want to have that long wait. You want to get in, you want to get out, and you do that with Rothman, and they also provide you with some just great overall care, and they leave you feeling pretty good about yourself. You're down when you have an injury. You're feeling defeated almost, and they make you feel like, hey, everything is going to be okay. We're going to take good care of you and get you back to where you want to go. By even asking, hey, do you want to continue playing basketball? What do you want to do? Yeah, I want to play basketball. All right, we got you covered. We'll take care of you. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country. That's over 60,000, my ankle included. It's not just the volume of 250,000, but of new patients and consults that Rothman is most proud of as well. But instead, it's their commitment to improving each of the patients' lives through their service and care. For more than 50 years, Rothman has participated in thousands of groundbreaking research and clinical trials with the goal of advancing knowledge, developing treatments, and improving outcomes for the benefit of our patients. I'm one of them. I say our because I feel like I'm a part of the family there. Rothman Orthopedics, specializing in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today.
And guys, you know we love our friends at TrueMark around here. We love the benefits of a credit union. Yeah, just having something local, somewhere you can pop into. There are a couple of different benefits we want to talk to you about today from TrueMark. Their Financial Rewards Visa credit card. You can earn rewards for every purchase using TrueMark's Financial Rewards Visa credit card. You can redeem them for travel and retail gift cards. Love some travel benefits, I'll tell you that, with any kind of credit card. I would recommend TrueMarks. You can also build credit through timely payments, low credit utilization, and enjoy fraud protection with features like zero liability. Also, a bunch of saving options at TrueMark. They have a traditional savings account, which is just a basic savings account offering a place to put your money, earn interest, withdraw money as needed, but they also have money market accounts. So you get the features of savings and checkings accounts, higher interest rates, and limited check writing capabilities, where you get easy access to your money when you need it the most. So guys, TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information on TrueMark, visit truemark.com/PHLY. That's where Tyrese Maxey needs to put all that next $200 million. So somewhere where you got checkings and savings, higher interest rates.
Yes.
Put that money to work for yourself, Tyrese.
Yes, trustworthy right there. All right, on Sunday, Team USA officially gets things underway with their group play, their pool play. They're taking on their only blowout that they did have, Kyle, was against Serbia, and Nikola Jokic and company had a blowout.
Very funny for our purposes, by the way.
Yeah.
With the Joel Jokic rivalry.
Absolutely. But now it counts. And this is going to be their first matchup. And you mentioned it's going to be on Sunday at 11:15 in the morning. So we'll be up a little bit earlier to watch that game and see how things go. Joel Embiid got off to a slow start in his Olympic career. Since then, he's gotten much better. One of the big highlights that he had, and you talked about it live while we were doing the show because you had the game on.
Yeah, I was only like 25% listening to you guys.
Yes, and I understand. He had a fantastic block that led to an Anthony Edwards great individual play on the other end as well. And he had about 14, 16 points in that one, about close to 10 boards, made some good defensive plays late, some passes as well, had a big shot, and even got some big hugs from LeBron James, even though he called him old after the game. But that said, it seems like game by game he has gotten better. So even when people
Once
say
again,
that,
I'm shocked that Joel, with more
Yes.
of the time to play basketball, is getting better.
So as things have gone on and they've gotten better over time, still Steve Kerr has the closing lineup with either Bam Adebayo or Anthony Davis at the 5. It's fine, whatever works for him. Joel Embiid still getting the starting nod and making an impact. That said, it looks like he's gotten better as things have gone on. Going to have some practice time before this game on Sunday. And for all the talk that we've discussed and everybody wanting to point out everything that's happening, well, guess what? When these other runs are happening and teams are coming back, he's on the bench when these runs are happening, because when he's on the floor, as you pointed out at one point, hey, he is leading everybody in plus minus when he's out there on the floor, and they have a decent enough lead when it comes to this level of play.
Yeah. So look, I don't want to get too deep into the whole Embiid, Anthony Davis thing, because Anthony Davis has played very well in his own right? Like, that's the thing that's a problem, is that the Lakers nation is so large that it's just become this big echo chamber of like, wow, what is Joel Embiid doing out there? It's like, are you guys actually paying attention to what's happening in these games? He did start poorly, and there was that first 2.5 games or so a feel of he is a square peg that they're trying to jam through a round hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Joel, being a very talented but also very intelligent basketball player, has clearly shown that he can figure it out and play off of, I think, specifically LeBron and Steph Curry. And while a lot of guys can do that, I think Steve Kerr has really committed to, he wants those guys to start and play together. And it's clear that a lot of the offense and a lot of the sets they're running are designed around that 3-man combination. And set aside whatever's best for Team USA. Like, I don't need to go too deep into the whole argument that's been going on. To me, I am seeing everything I wanted to see from Joel that I want him to carry into his Sixers experience, that I want him to do with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and these other guys, which is to say, the ball sticking less. He's looking for cutters. He's trying to play, that 0.5 basketball. If he's not rising up to shoot right away, he's looking around the floor. Okay, where's the opening? Is there an open shooter? Is there an open cutter? Is there an opportunity for a dribble handoff with Steph Curry or Devin Booker or one of these other guys? Who, by the way, Devin Booker is the guy who really should be getting heat for not fitting into this team, because he's just like getting cardio half the time out there. But seeing Joel go and screen and then rescreen, hit the glass, move better on defense. Like, every single game he's gotten a little better in some way. And so I'm really excited to now see him. He's got 5 games under his belt with these guys.
Yep.
Really excited to see that Olympic debut, especially because it is against Serbia. It's a big matchup to open the tournament. And this is everything I wanted for him, is to play with high-level guys, to be around LeBron, to be around Steph, to be around KD when he comes back, learn how to play off of them, and learn how to translate that into an NBA team environment where you don't have to be the guy who scores 35 points. And I know we brought up Paul George bringing up in his press conference, we don't want Joel isolating all the time. We want Joel to be part of this bigger whole where he doesn't have to do everything himself and doesn't have to carry the offense for the entire game. So I love what I've seen the last 2 games especially, and I hope that it continues as we get into actual Olympic pool play here.
You mentioned it, and Aaron brought it up. Aaron in the chat says Joel actually being pretty unselfish and doing some smaller things that don't show up in the stats overall.
Setting pin downs for Steph Curry.
I mean, my goodness, he's getting some really good looks.
Yes.
When he's out there, and you look at it, and as soon as Joel sets that screen, you're like, damn, he just laid him out. And Steph has time to size up that shot because he's so wide open because of the screen that Joel sets. The fact that normally we see him, we just talked about the pocket passes from James Harden and Tyrese Maxey. He's not even shooting those right away because he is, I think, overthinking at times and looking for some of those players, even when he has the wide open opportunity to take that shot, because he is being unselfish, though. The rescreens that he is setting as well. So he has played much better since that debut in that exhibition game for the showcase against Canada in Las Vegas. And you can see why. Steve Kerr said he's going to remain part of the big three in that starting lineup because of how good he has been. And it's encouraging to see that, because if he does that and if they continue to keep going and they get to that gold medal game, that means less time for him not to stay in shape once they do get to training camp, because that's going to be important for him to come in after playing. Sure, he's going to have about 3 weeks off, may not play a lot of basketball, but I'd imagine that he would want to stay in that shape as they get closer to September, get ready for that media day and then training camp there to follow. And that's going to be a big, big thing for the 76ers to have him engaged right away instead of trying to catch up to his teammates in terms of the fitness base that he has. So seeing him play this way, seeing him look better out there, seeing them feel comfortable now with him out there on the floor. You see it. If you see it, pay
LeBron
attention, you watch
timing
it,
his cuts off of him and doing all that kind of stuff. That shows that those guys have spent a decent amount of time over the last few weeks playing, practicing, learning each other's tendencies. It's made me think, I'm sure same for you, about what would have happened if LeBron came here back in
I saw you
2018.
Yeah,
I was like, man, just like what
I thought at the time it was the right move for him, for his career, for LeBron James. And I still believe that was, even though he did win a championship in Los Angeles, I still think, man, that could have been some fun stuff.
That could have been really fun. The other thing that I also think will be a side benefit, some of the whistles he's not getting in FIBA play, maybe that'll teach him to cut down some of the. I'm not saying you have to stop all the foul drawing, because he draws a lot of legitimate fouls, and he knows how to sell contact and do all that, and that's a part of his skill package. But seeing the FIBA refs being like, no, sir, that's not a foul, I think that might end up helping Joel in the long run. So I've been very pleased with what we're seeing from him so far.
Quick 2 super chats before we get to the other person that we need to discuss. Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, saying Calipari put in the call for Maxey to go and get Justin Edwards.
I'd love to see Justin Edwards in the gym with Tyrese Maxey, but that's a guy who could benefit from some more summertime reps.
Yep. We'll see what happens with him on the 2-way deal. He, David Jones, and now Jeff Doughton with the other one. We'll see what happens with a few other players on the summer roster as well. Brian Pumper, the amount of talking Joel was doing, sure, feels like he is about to release a pod himself. Pray for our 76ers. I don't know that he wants to do that. He talks a lot, but I don't know that he wants to do that consistently on a daily basis.
Joel would get himself in a lot of trouble if he had a platform to talk for, even if it was like twice a month. I think he'd get himself in a decent amount of trouble. Water?
Yeah, a little bit. He doesn't need that. He needs to just guest star on, in the past, JJ Redick's podcast, also on some other ones, but not his own. That might get him in some hot water. Speaking of hot water, at least it hasn't been out there publicly hot water, but enough people have said some things. I said something about it on Monday. Kyle wasn't sure what I was talking about, but then he watched it and texted me and said, "This is worse than you made it seem on the pod." I was like, yeah, because I didn't really want to get too much into it because that's how bad it was. But now you've had a chance to see it and you want to share it with the folks.
Undersold it, and I almost don't want to give it more. You can understand
why I undersold it.
I almost don't want to give Gilbert Arenas more attention because of how awful this was. So I'm going to tell you pieces of what he said. So this is one of them. We almost lost to the Ahi tribe. Embiid's over there throwing the game for his cousins.
For his cousins.
Which, by the way, you're implying that people in South Sudan and Cameroon, which are two completely different countries, so that's problem number one. We get to, he says they don't even have basketball rims. They're shooting on peach baskets in dirt with no shoes. So he's making all these like awful xenophobic comments, is basically calling Joel a traitor to the U.S. And then to top it all off, like that's all stupid. And he goes on to say, we almost lost to The Air Up There, which that's a movie from
Kevin Bacon.
Mid-90s, early 90s, somewhere in there, about Kevin Bacon recruiting a unheralded prospect from Africa. Then he says, we almost lost to the Cool Runnings team. And so this was like kind of where I wanted to go with it. I don't want to, all the xenophobia and like frankly racism that's in there is a topic that we could go on for a long time. The reason that more people have not focused on this and have not, called for Gilbert Arenas' job, or like it hasn't been on all the debate talk shows and whatnot, excuse me, is because this guy is such a fucking dumbass that nobody expects any better from him. This is who he has been his entire life. This guy said Cool Runnings, like Jamaica, which is in the Caribbean, is in Africa, as if that's a thing that is in real life. That's how fucking stupid Gilbert Arenas is. You're talking about a guy who brought guns into an NBA locker room over over like a bet or something back in the day?
Him and Javaris Crittenden. Yep.
Him and Javaris Crittenden, where he's getting in trouble for having guns in the locker room. He says so much stupid shit that this is just like part of the wider fabric of all the dumb things that Gilbert Arenas has said. And by the way, he's referring to a team in South Sudan where Wenyen Gabriel, for example, he was born in Massachusetts. Mariel Shayok, by the way, born in Ontario. A lot of these guys are Americans who they're not good enough to play for Team USA, obviously, but they have heritage, they have ancestry of some sort in Sudan. And Luol Deng has been trying to build out that program. And that's like a huge point of pride for South Sudan that they've been able to come together and build something where it's like, yes, Team USA underperformed. Yes, they haven't figured all their stuff out. But these guys came together to like show pride in where they're from. And I'm much more inclined to give shine to that than I am like, oh, I can't believe Team USA would do this or make these ridiculous comments calling them tribes and stuff. It's like, are you out of your fucking mind? That, again, we've been through this before, right? Like the reason Joel is playing for Team USA is a reason that I get behind 100%. His son is born here. His son is a born U.S. citizen. He wants to be a shining example for his son who will grow up and be an American, live his life here. Like, I'm representing our country. I want to do things that make my son proud. And I brought it up before. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of the American melting pot and like you're bringing people in from different countries. Like there is a history of guys, big men specifically from other countries who have played for Team USA. Patrick Ewing, who was, by the way, born in Jamaica, right? And then moved to, I believe, was Massachusetts or,
yes, he is.
Or New England area. I don't remember where specifically. Mm-hmm. Hakeem Olajuwon, was he Nigeria? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yep.
Came from Nigeria, ends up playing for Team USA in the 90s. These guys embrace the opportunity that America has given them. And so the idea, especially in a game, Joel was plus 14. Anthony Davis is minus 15. And this bozo, Gilbert Arenas, was like, oh, he's trying to give the game to his cousins. On a basketball level, what fucking game were you watching?
He had an agenda. He wanted that.
And that's my problem with all this Team USA stuff with Joel, is there are so many people who came into the summer with one conclusion and they will not move off of their position because of what they believed previously. It's the absolute worst way to analyze anything. In this case, basketball. In this case, Joel and Team USA. So, yeah, screw that guy.
Yeah, he's a clown. Leave it at that. He
absolute clown.
He wanted to get whatever joke off he thought was funny, and he felt like he had to get that joke off no matter what. And since the game
wasn't even funny in the first place,
he thought it was funny. And the game turned out the way it did, so he felt like he had to run with it. He did, and he made himself look like an idiot, like he typically does. Our buddy in the chat was talking about it. It was WC13 was discussing it, saying the guy's always going to be an idiot. And that's exactly.
You can't fix stupid. I don't remember who first said that quote, but yeah. That about sums it up.
Yeah, so Gilbert Arenas just being stupid like he typically does, going out there saying something totally unnecessary about Joel Embiid, the rest of the South Sudan folks, Luol Deng putting that team together, Royale Ivy doing a fantastic job coaching them, where they gained respect last summer and gained respect in that game as well, and they have a pretty good future on the way. Also want to tell you about the PHLY Phillies as we get ready to sign off, that they have a post-game show. Phillies and Twins going at it. I don't know what the score is, but they did go up before we got started. Trying to take
I saw some negative tweets at some point that came up. I'm not really sure how that ended.
So make sure you check out the PHLY Phillies post-game show.
It is 4-4, top of the ninth right now.
Okay. Like. All right. So win or lose, check them out. They also have a trade deadline show coming up next Tuesday. How about that, right? A little trade they're trying to fix center field. And with them trying to fix center field, let's see if Dave Dombrowski does something to fix that issue. Johan Rojas is a fan favorite, but not enough where you can't go out there and improve and upgrade at center field when you are trying to win a championship. That's next Tuesday. Billy Murphy's Saloon in East Falls is the place to be. RSVP for free, and we'll see about some ticket giveaways, so maybe a big trade for the Phillies as well. All right, with that, we got to go. It's been fun, but we got to get to some Super Chats. I will read one from Devon again. You read the other one because that's directly
I am not reading the other one. I'm not reading Martian.
Funny thing is, Devon says, Gil is Cuban.
I can't speak to his nationality. I'm pretty sure he's born in California, if I remember correctly.
He's a California guy. Yeah, so I don't. So that one, and then
his nationality is dumbass. That's
Martian Lynch decides to go back to the wop. Kyle,
F him up. I dropped enough F-bombs. Yeah. I'll save the cursing for another time. Put it that way.
All right, folks, it's time for our roll call. You know what to do. Throw those bell ringers, the bell icons in the chat as Kyle gets ready to run off.
Oh, boy.
The thank yous for today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Jay of the Jungle, Martian Lynch, Flyers in 7.
What up, Flyers in 7? Mishkov is here.
Bootzilla.
What up, Boots?
Eugene Ross, king of the caps lock. Actually, is he king of the exclamation point? Martian Lynch.
Yes. Is king of the caps lock.
Yes. Thank you to you
Gene
both.
said we're going to have a basketball invitational now that I'm back and my Achilles is good. Cool. Set it up, Gene. We're ready. Winona says she's
Me and my
be
shiny legs will be watching from the sidelines since everyone was commenting on this.
They were commenting on your legs.
Thank you to AA Ron, Brian Pumper,
what
our
up,
guy
Aaron?
Al, the 2-minute warning.
What up, Al?
WC13. Spo Babby,
what up?
Nice with it. Randy Rhubarb.
Randy.
Puppas.
What's up, Puppas?
What's up, Puppas? Win Forever. Phi Chi. Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats.
Thanks for the super chat.
Remo K.
What up, Remo?
Jess with a big super chat earlier as well.
Jess?
So thank you to Jess. Who else we got in here today? Devon Gibbons. Who the hell is that?
I don't know who that is.
God, why can I never scroll further? What is going on here, man?
Because we have a lot of people chatting in there.
We got my girl, Winona.
Hey, Nona.
We got Darkness.
There you go.
That wasn't as good today. I'm still dealing with some congestion. If you guys can't hear it in my voice,
that's all right. It's the effort. It's the effort, man. That's
I'm
what
trying
matters.
my best here. Who were our other super chatters in here today? I think I actually got all of these super chatters. All right, but thank you once again to Jess, Devon, Brian, Martian. You guys are the best, as is everybody else who's here today. Prophet One in the building. Alex Perry. I think. Was it Dev Miliano is in here?
Yeah. All right. What up, Dev? Haven't seen you in a while.
I think I saw them in here earlier up top. I don't know, man.
Alex,
if I could scroll further, I'd love to name more names, but YouTube is really messing with my flow and my vibe right now. So for everybody, AC Philla, that's another one who's in here. He was in one of the very first.
Yep.
Very first. Oh, Elvira Morales.
Oh. Elvira Morales.
Love that.
What up, Elvira?
So I think that's a new one. And my guy Will in the building. Shout out to each and every one of you here today.
Martian says, shout out Robin Givens. I don't claim her as a family member, so no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's out.
Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And if you hit the thumbs up button, maybe my congestion will go away. Maybe Derek will actually start feeling better sometime soon. Either way, we'll be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. sharp.
Yes.
See you then.
Thank
you to super producer Bree.
We all silly like the mayor.